Hey, what's up, Toilet Water Squad? I'm Big P, and I'm streaming out some Monkey Wanna Crunch-mon ice cream. This is a cinnamon toast crunch base with maple cream cheese swirl, banana chips, chopped up chocolate, and I'm melting an infused chocolate bar into this batch. I'm using half of a 100 milligram bar, so about 50 milligrams total for the full recipe, which comes out to roughly 20 milligrams per pint, depending on how you portion it. If you don't want to use anything infused, you can make this exact recipe with regular milk chocolate, and it'll still be incredible. I'll have full recipes in the description, stabilizer version, egg yolk version, and versions using the full chocolate bar if you want to use more of the chocolate bar. I measure everything by weight, but I'll also have volume measurements in the description. I think a good amount of you guys are gonna have a scale though. All right, let's get started. We're gonna work on the ice cream base first. I have all my ingredients out. I'm going to add 85 grams of sugar. If you're adding stabilizers, it's important to mix the dry ingredients first because the stabilizers will clump if they're not mixed with other dry ingredients first. From there, I'm gonna add my stabilizers. So if you're doing the simple version of the recipe, these are the 3 ingredients that you're gonna skip. So the first ingredient is 0.2 grams of lambda carrageenan, then it's 0.4 grams of guar gum, and then 0.8 grams of locust bean gum. I know a lot of people who use stabilizers just use xanthan gum. So if you want to just use xanthan gum, you can use 1.3 grams of xanthan gum instead of the stabilizers that I used. And if you're doing the simple version, you're back to including all the ingredients. So this is going to be 4 grams of kosher salt. It can be either type of salt, but if you're measuring by volume, make sure to use kosher salt because it'll be different. If you do it by weight, it'll be the same amount of salt, but if you do it by volume, you're going to be adding too much salt if you use table salt. That's all the dry ingredients, at least all the dry ingredients that we're adding so far. You want to stir this up to make sure that those stabilizers get all mixed in, but even if you're not using the stabilizers, you still want to stir it up just so that everything gets all mixed together. And if you're doing the egg yolk version, add them in now and stir them into the dry ingredients. The first wet ingredient I'm going to add is 20 grams of refined coconut oil. You can skip this if you want to, if you don't have coconut oil. If you skip it, it'll just make it less creamy. So the ice cream will still work, it'll just make it less creamy. This is the only version of the recipe that I use coconut oil in. I don't use coconut oil in the egg ones because the eggs provide extra fat, and the one that has more chocolate in it, the chocolate provides more fat. Next, I'm adding 50 grams of light corn syrup. You could use golden syrup or glucose syrup if that's what you have. Light corn syrup is a different thing than high fructose corn syrup, which is extra bad for you. This is not good for you. Any added sugar is not gonna be good for you. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but ice cream isn't good for you, physically at least. Now I'm adding 2 grams of blackstrap molasses. If you don't have molasses, you could skip this ingredient too on any of the recipes and it will still be fine. I just add this for a little more depth of flavor. I do this in pretty much all of my ice cream recipes. I add a little bit of blackstrap molasses. Now I'm adding my infused chocolate bar. So this is the chocolate bar that I got. When I was looking up when I was making the recipe and I looked up this chocolate bar, it said that it's 66 grams, but this says 64 grams. So in my recipe, I had 33 grams, but it's gonna be 32 grams of chocolate. So what I'm saying is add 32 grams of chocolate, whether it's infused or not. Oh wait, I guess I'm not adding it now. I added the milk first. You could do whichever one first, but this is 450 grams of whole milk. And now it's time for the chocolate bar. So you can see that there's 10 squares here. I'm going to break it up and I'm going to add 5 of the squares to the base. Just a quick reminder that if you're putting the full chocolate bar in there, you have to follow the recipe that I have in the description that says full chocolate bar. You can't just use the same recipe that I'm doing in this video because the ingredients are going to be, there's going to be different amounts of the other ingredients to make up for the ratios of, fats and solids and stuff like that. I'm setting the base aside for a second and I'm getting a bowl out because I'm going to measure out my cinnamon toast crunch. I'm doing this because I'm going to blend it into the milk, and I want to add it in quickly and then blend it because in my thoughts, I don't want it to get in the milk and then get soggy. I don't know if that's going to make it harder to blend or what. So I want it to kind of still be pretty firm. So I don't want to be like, just shaking it out of the bag into the milk and then go and get my blender and, whatever. Maybe I was just being overly cautious, but that's the way I did it. And I added 90 grams of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. By the way, it took me so long to buy that Cinnamon Toast Crunch at the store because of that Mario ad at the top. Whenever there's something like that on a cereal box or something, I have to look at it for so long to figure out if it's the regular one or if this is some weird flavor. But this was, in fact, the regular one. All right, the ice cream base is back, and I am pouring the Cinnamon Toast Crunch into it, and I'm going to blend it up. This took me a little bit of time because all I have is an immersion blender. So it took me a little bit of time to be able to get it in the liquid so that I could blend things up. Once I got most of the cereal under the liquid, I just blended it for like about a minute, just to try and make sure I got it as finely ground up as possible. If you're using a regular blender, that will probably be much more efficient. I've tried infusing ingredients before, like infusing flavor, and it's always just so imprecise, like I let cereal soak in the milk like overnight, and then you strain it out the next day, but it's so imprecise because I don't know how much of the liquid is being absorbed by the cereal that is getting thrown out, and I don't know how much of, the sugar from the cereal is getting into the liquid. It's really hard to say. It's hard to calculate because you're supposed to just not include the cereal in your ice cream calculator calculations, but it still affects the ice cream. So it's just weird. So I decided to try this, which was try blending it into the cereal and including the cereal as an ingredient on the ice cream calculator. And it seems like that was a much better approach. It seems like it worked great. So at this point, we're taking it over to the stove and we're putting it on medium to medium-high heat. And if you're using the stabilizers that I'm using, you want to heat it up to 185 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're doing the egg yolks, you want to do it to about 180 to 185 degrees Fahrenheit. And then no stabilizers or xanthan gum. You just want to heat it to just until it's kind of steaming. You don't have to really take the temperature. You just want to make sure everything is getting all incorporated and cooked a little bit, and you just want it to be steaming a little bit, and then that should be good. And you want to be stirring kind of a lot, especially if you have the egg yolks, because you don't want them to scramble. But if any of the other versions, you also want to stir kind of a lot, just so that the milk doesn't scorch, or just so that you don't get any burnt flavors from anything burning on the bottom or on the sides. You may see yours start to look like it's boiling, like it'll be bubbling. Mine did this around 160 degrees. And that's completely fine. It's just because there's so much stuff in here. It changes it changes how the liquid behaves when it's heated, having all these sugars and milk solids and stabilizers in the ice cream. So basically, if it starts to look like it's boiling, but your thermometer says that it hasn't gotten to 185 degrees yet, that's completely fine. Just stir it and just keep going until you get to 185 degrees. One of the reasons why it would start to bubble before it gets to the boiling point that I found interesting is that since there's so many solids in there, steam pockets can collect, and then that's just basically those steam pockets rising up. Once you get up to whatever temperature you need it to get to for whichever recipe you're doing, you want to take it off the heat and pour it into a bowl. This is when I like to add my heavy whipping cream and my vanilla extract. So I'm gonna add 300 grams of heavy whipping cream. My main reason for adding this after cooking is because it's gonna help cool down the mixture. So that'll make it so that less of the liquid steams off, and also so that it's cooler when you get it into the fridge, so it's not warming up your fridge. So you wanna whisk that in and get it all nice and incorporated, just so that it kind of cools down the temperature of the whole thing. Another reason why that's important is because the next ingredient we're adding is vanilla extract. We're adding 13 grams of vanilla extract. And vanilla extract is alcohol based, so it would evaporate if heated too high. So cooling down the mixture helps, make it so that more of that vanilla flavor stays in there. It's a decent amount of vanilla extract. That's because alcohol also doesn't freeze, so I needed to increase the amount of alcohol in the recipe in order to make it a good scoopable texture coming out of the freezer. You could substitute half of the vanilla extract for vodka if you wanted, if you didn't want to use a bunch of vanilla extract, but I don't know. I don't think it tasted too vanilla-y. If you're worried about that, then don't worry about that. It was fine. But once you get that mixed in, cover it up and put it in the fridge overnight to chill, because you want this as cold as possible before you try to churn it. All right, so it's the next day for me, but you could do this the night before too if you wanted to. It doesn't matter. I'm just weighing out some chocolate chips and some banana chips. So I'm using some Ghirardelli 60% chocolate chips, and I'm weighing out 150 grams, and then I'm going to chop them up real small so that they're small when you eat them, and so that they're different textures too. That's why I like to do it this way. If you have different textures, it'll be a different mouthfeel, and it'll make it more interesting. If you don't want to go through the work of chopping these up, that's very understandable. You could just, buy smaller chocolate chips. I wouldn't do it with, I wouldn't just put these full chocolate chips in there. You could also melt the chocolate in a double boiler, and then towards the end of the ice cream churning, pour the melted chocolate into the ice cream maker, and it'll solidify and create little shards of chocolate. I also weighed out 100 grams of the banana chips back there, and I chopped those up as well. I don't know if they have smaller banana chips than that, so you're probably gonna have to cut them all up. Maybe you could put them in a blender or a food processor or something. I've tried that with chocolate chips before, and it doesn't really work. It kind of just creates a lot of chocolate dust and then still a bunch of big pieces of chocolate. So that's why I still just chop it up by hand. Once you get everything all chopped up, put it in a Ziploc bag or a container or something and put it in the freezer, because you want it to be as cold as possible when you add it to the ice cream so it doesn't warm up the ice cream. The last thing we need to work on is the maple cream cheese swirl. If you just want an infused ice cream, you can skip this part, but it's good. You want to get the block of cream cheese, not the tub of cream cheese, because they're different. But the block of cream cheese, I left it out to sit for an hour, just because I had the time to soften it. You could put it you could microwave it, I guess, a little bit, but you want it to be soft. It'll be easier if it's soft. And you want to put in 125 grams of the cream cheese. The next ingredient is powdered sugar, and we're putting 30 grams of powdered sugar in. Now we got 1 gram of ground cinnamon and 60 grams of maple syrup, and then 2 grams of salt. I dumped all of that into my stand mixer, and I just kept mixing it until it incorporated. It took a couple of minutes. You can see there's those little chunks of cream cheese. It took kind of a decent amount of time to get those completely incorporated in. And then I added some milk later, which maybe you should just add the milk at the beginning. Maybe that'll make it easier for it all to incorporate. But yeah, I added 10 grams of whole milk and just stirred that all in. If you're making this the night before, you should refrigerate it, and then I guess take it out and leave it on the counter for a bit, or you can maybe microwave it for a little, or I don't know, maybe just stir it up a bit and loosen it up, just so that it's easier to layer into the ice cream. But if you do it on the day of, then you can just leave it out and put it on and put it in the ice cream. But now the base has chilled overnight and we're ready to churn it. I took it out and it was looking pretty thick, so I decided to hit it with the blender for a bit to loosen it up. And I just blended it for 20 to 30 seconds, just to get it loose. You don't want to blend it too long. I don't know if you can churn butter by blending it too long, so just be careful and don't blend it for more than 30 seconds. It was looking nice and loose after I blended it, so that was great, and it was ready to churn. So I poured it into my ice cream maker, and I churned it for the amount of time that my ice cream maker, well, no, it churned much quicker than my ice cream maker tells me I should churn things. Mine usually churns in 20 minutes, or in 10 minutes, and it tells me to do it in 20 minutes, but I usually take it out after about 10 or 12. So just pay attention, and if it's looking like a Wendy's Frosty, then it's probably time to take it out. Once this gets to about, I guess, that point, then once there's 2 minutes left in churning, so if you don't know what you're doing, then I guess it's pretty much when Wendy's Frosty time happens. But you want to add the mix-ins, so the chocolate chips and the banana chips. I like to add them while it's in the machine, and then it kind of, gets it all incorporated. It doesn't get it incorporated that well, but it does at least help scrape some of the ice cream off the walls, and it gets all the mix-ins nice and cold, even if they're already cold. But that's pretty much it. The ice cream's made. So once those are in there for a minute or two, or you could always even just mix them in after taking the ice cream out of the machine. But once that's all done, then you're pretty much done. You just gotta load it into your containers and layer the swirl into the containers. So what I like to do is I like to put 1 scoop of ice cream in, and then put a little bit of the cream cheese swirl in there. And then I usually kind of mix it up after that, but for some reason this time I didn't do that. So again, 1 scoop of ice cream, then some of the cream cheese swirl, and then I go in there with another utensil and I just kind of move it around a little bit just to swirl it in. You don't want to move it too much though, because it'll mix with the ice cream if you do it too much, and you don't want it to mix with the ice cream because that'll change the composition of the ice cream, and it also just won't make it as interesting. It won't have, you know, that swirl in there where there's like a different taste. Once you load up your containers, you want to put them in the freezer and freeze them overnight to firm up. Like I mentioned earlier, this made 2.5 pints. I would recommend maybe marking these ones as being special in some way, just so no one goes in there and has some of this and doesn't know what they're getting into. All right, it's taste test time. This one's a little more special because it's got some hot fudge and some salted caramel. I'll link to my video on making the salted caramel, and then the hot fudge, I don't have a video on that, but that's just Claire Saffetz's hot fudge. And it's delicious. This taste test was recorded about 4 hours after churning it, because I have to post it soon. So it's not a fully accurate depiction of what the ice cream is like because it's not fully firmed up. You'll see that it gets kind of melty, you know, when I've well, put the hot fudge and all that stuff on it, but then also like took some time to take a thumbnail pictures and, you know, just, you know, kind of just taking my time. But I'm cutting in here because somebody recorded another taste test from when it's been more firmed up, and I put that at the end of the video. But yeah, from what I've heard, it seems like this one's delicious, and it looks like it. I wasn't sure if this would work out, but apparently it did. And from what I've heard, you can't taste the chocolate bar at all, which is great. An inconspicuous infusion. I made this recipe because I thought that like the cerealness of it would, you know, go with the infusion theme. And the bananas, you know, people put bananas in cereal, but the banana chips, it's kind of like an inverse cereal where the cereal is the, you know, soft thing, and the banana is like the crunchy thing, like the cereal. I'm just realizing just now that I meant to strain the ice cream base like through a mesh strainer, and I forgot to do that, and it was completely fine. So you can do that if you want to. I would strain it like the next morning. Oh, and definitely if you're doing egg yolks, definitely strain it before churning, just in case you got any pieces of scrambled egg in there. Well, it seems our time has come to an end. Thank you for watching Toilet Water Squad. Like and subscribe, and check out some other videos about ice cream or high altitude baking or just other food stuff. And big shout out to the Upper Decker members. You guys are keeping a roof over my family's head. And remember to hug your pets. Give them a nice little pet and give them a big ol' hug from Big P. That's me.